Welcome to the 8th installment in Getting Your First Piercing. This episode, we're going to talk about piercing tools, things and items and things that might be used during the piercing process. Kind of get you familiar with them and maybe take some of that anxiety and weirdness and fear and etc. that everybody kind of goes through when they see these things on a tray, because they can look a little intimidating. No way around it. Coming up next on New to Piercing, episode number 45. For those that are new to the channel, welcome to the Body Piercing and Tattooing channel. Hope you're enjoying the videos. Hope you're finding it helpful and useful, but you may not know who I am. Just so you know, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer, have been since 1994. Own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing studio located right here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So I'm going to talk about a number of different items that are used. I used one of those things you put on your head, the headband thing with the action camera. And I'm just going to use the sound off of that. So if it sounds weird, I'm sorry. I think the quality is going to be but we'll see. I haven't even really looked at the footage yet. But one thing I do need to cover is there is a difference between different types of tools and how they're used and how piercing studios operate. Not all of them do it the same. There are different techniques, different methods, and things change. We get better methods. We get better tools. We do things differently. So I'm making this in April of 2026. If you're in like April of 3030, this may not be the way they do it anymore. I would break what we're going to see today into two categories. One being single-use items, and the other one being reusable tools. Now, single-use items come prepackaged, pre-sterilized. These could be things like everything pretty much anymore. Disposable forceps, needles come sometimes that way, etc. Not the better ones, the best ones don't. Anyway, these are things that are designed to be used once in a piercing and then thrown away. They're never to be used on another person again. They're usually not made of metal. They're usually made of plastics or biodegradable materials. Usually, like I said, they're just one use and that's it. We don't need it anymore. There are some studios out there that even do this with their metal tools. That is something that's completely up to the artist. I know the advantages of it. I know the disadvantages of it. I've done a whole pros and cons on the subject. Personally, we reuse some of our tools. Reusable tools are usually made of a very durable material. Most common would be implant-grade stainless steel or titanium. They are disinfected between each use, decontaminated. Then they are cleaned, repackaged, and sterilized every single time. Now I'm going to go into the tools. Like I said before, if the sound isn't that great, I'm sorry, but it should be workable. So here I am over there. All right. So we're going to go through and cover some of the more basic tools that you're going to see, kind of get you familiar with them so you're not quite scared of them as you would be. We're going to start out with the piercing tool. The tools are used generally just for the piercing itself. The most common one and the most often used is the hypodermic needle, or piercing needle, I should say. This is like a hypodermic needle. Often a lot sharper than anything you're going to find in the medical industry. It does not have a hub back, so we can insert things or we can place the jewelry against the back. The next thing is going to be Pennington forceps. These are triangular forceps. These are used to clamp tissue. Usually you use a rubber band on the base of it to tighten and loosen how tight these are. The reason why we use these is to clamp the tissue and compress it to make the piercing faster, and also to support that tissue so there's more cutting than tearing. And it can be used to kind of make sure that we can adjust it this way or that way to make sure that we're definitely doing that piercing straight and kind of angle it to that. So that's Pennington forceps. These can be used pretty much navel piercings, eyebrow piercings. Some people use them on ear piercings, nostril piercings, nipple piercings, and various different genital piercings. Bollinger forceps are a more specialized piece of kit. These are primarily used only for tongue piercings. They're basically the same. They can be adjusted to determine, you put a rubber band on here or elastic band.
and it can be used to give it more or less tension. It's designed to hold the tongue out and keep it in place while we're doing the piercing and inserting the jewelry. Another thing that's commonly used is needle receiving tubes. This is a hollow tube. Basically, you use this whenever we're getting into areas where it's tight to basically, we line this up on the other side of the tissue and then inject the needle into it. So that way we don't have to worry about hitting anything behind it. It also helps because it supports it. So this is used on a lot of piercings that are in tight areas or areas of the body where there's a lot of stuff going on. Piercing sticks. I have used these, and this is kind of a sample thing, kind of basically used like a cork. You place this inside the nostril, for example, and then the idea is that you hit this or you hit the stick, and it's easy to guide the jewelry out. This is a disposable one. It's single use. Once it's used, it's tossed. Markers. Surgical markers. Some people use ink and toothpicks to mark their piercings. There's no real right way to do it, except don't use Sharpies. This particular one is a white one, and these are used on various different piercings, especially if we can't see if they're darker pigment. It makes it a little bit easier to see what we're doing. Another type of thing is in like the forceps, these are plastic disposable ones. They have a ratchet that clamps down to hold the tissue, works exactly like a forceps. I don't particularly care for them. I have used them in the past, but some people use these, and it's an easy way to just toss it as soon as you're done. Now let's get into some cleanup stuff. This is a Q-tip. People would refer to it, but actually what it is a cotton tip applicator. This is not the same thing you're going to get in a box of 100. This is a wooden stick, and this is tightly wound cotton. It is also sterile because it came pre-sterilized, and you peel it open and use it. These can be used to support the tissue during the healing during the piercing. They also can be used to just clean up afterwards, and they're used for testing to make sure that we can fit certain jewelry in areas, probably most commonly clitoral hood piercings. Now, another thing that's used commonly is calipers. What these are is it's a way to measure how thick the actual piercing area is going to be so that we have a definite idea in what's going to work well with that particular piercing. It can be important to measure in sometimes because people's anatomy is different from person to person and also can be different from side to side, so we need to test that. Another thing that we'll be using during the piercing process often is guide pens or taper pens. These are a tapered pen, meaning that this side is thin, this side is thick. What happens is it slowly enters into the piercing or it's pushed against the needle, and then it's used to insert the jewelry. This particular type, I don't know how well you can see that, is a threadless. Maybe that'll be a little bit better. It has this thinner piece of stick that sticks into the threadless post, which makes inserting it really easy. We also use these a lot with changing jewelry. There is a threaded version of these, and there's also a taper version or concave version where the jewelry just rests against the back and you use that to insert it. Ball changers. This is a growing part of the piercing experience. These are fairly new. These come from Stiletto Piercing. This particular type, basically you stick the ball in this suction cup-like end, use it to get the jewelry on. They also have versions for threadless jewelry, putting in posts, etc. It works really well in tight areas where it's hard to get your body. Now let's talk about some tools that we just use for jewelry only, or for insertion of jewelry. First ones would be hemostats. These I particularly like because they're the mosquitoes, they're really flat. This gives us the ability to grip jewelry to put it into tight places, also to hold it in place while we're putting ends on. It makes life a lot easier, or removing ends. These particular ones are brass plated. They can be sterilized and used. Now I'm just going to talk about tools that are used just for jewelry insertion or to adjust jewelry. First one, and I kind of talked about these earlier, hemostats. They can be used to hold needles and etc. and guide pens and grip things. But they're also used to to hold jewelry to get it into tight spaces and to hold it while we're screwing on balls or putting in threadless ends. The next one would be expansion pliers. Originally, these were designed primarily for expanding for captive bead rings or captive closures to give you a little bit more. You press outward and then you put it in, or to bend it so that it would fit into places so that we could close it later. Now it's used also to expand jewelry like circular barbells for septum piercings and other piercings where we need it a little bit wider to fit into the area or make the area that's in the piercing more flat. Next one would be closures. These come in various different types. There's this type and this type, and they're for closing jewelry, mainly captive bead rings or etc. But they could be used on to grip jewelry if we have a really bad time getting the end off, etc. As pliers, basically. These are primarily used to close captive bead rings and other things to make them smaller. We could use this if we over adjusted or over expanded. Like a circular barbell, we can use it to close it. The last ones would be these. These are brass-plated pliers, multi-purpose, used for gripping things, turning things, etc. Not used so much in the actual piercing process, usually used to remove jewelry, to be honest with you. That's probably the number one thing I use it for, is when people crank on ends too tight, is to get those ends off. So that's a basic overlay of most of the tools that you may see when you get pierced.
Well, that's it. Did you see anything I missed? If you did, leave a comment. We'll address it. We'll try to figure something out. Also, just leave the information there for other people, because that's part of the community that we build here and we have been ongoing for some time. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I'll be happy to answer that when I have time. Also, if you're one of those people who wants to get your questions answered right away, we do a live stream every Monday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'd be happy to answer those questions as me and Scott sit down and talk about our week and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, check it out. Till next time, here's hoping your piercing skill will ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, we hope to see you for your piercing needs in the future. The next episode is going to be about piercing setup and safety. So look for that soon.